we are working with a community of small producers there, about 30 or so. And they told us a story about one of the big families in coffee in Honduras, who had sometimes bought their cherry. And he came in on a helicopter, right, for a photo shoot. No one was allowed to come anywhere near him. No one was allowed to shake his hand or touch him. He didn't meet any of these producers. He flew in, got out. His security pushed all the people back, took a couple of pictures, and took off. And boy, does it look like he's really engaged with his communities. Yeah, that's how he's engaged. He's just there for the photo op, right? He's not there for the people. He was paying.
Sounds like a few coffee roasters that I know that do something similar to that, sans the helicopter and the bodyguard.
No, with the helicopter. We just heard a story
really?
In Guatemala. Yes, an Australian rooster flew in with a helicopter, did a cupping at the farm, and flew back out.
For real?
You know how upside down that is? Yes. Like the rental on that, yes, from Guatemala City to the Tenango, they flew a helicopter. That is crazy, right? That is so
it's embarrassing. That's what that is. That's like, even if you've got the money to do that, read the fucking room. Hey friends, it's Lee Safar here with some exciting news. The introduction to regenerative coffee farming workshops are now available on demand in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. These workshops are designed to give you actionable insights into the future of coffee farming through regenerative agriculture. Whether you're a coffee producer, roaster, cafe owner, or just passionate about coffee sustainability. For coffee producers, the workshop is available for just $10, and for everyone else, it's $20, a small price to pay for knowledge that could transform your understanding of what it's going to take to grow coffee from now on. Led by our incredible professors Angela Barrero, Murilo Bettarello, Felipe Croce, Carlos Ordóñez, and João Araújo, the workshop is packed with practical knowledge and strategies to help coffee farmers and the entire coffee industry adapt to the challenges of climate change, rising costs, and market demands. If you're a business owner, this workshop is a great and affordable way to inform your employees about the challenges ahead while also supporting Map It Forward. This is also a great workshop to share with or gift to your coffee producers. Head to mapitforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the description to purchase the on-demand version and start your journey towards a more sustainable coffee future today. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Bob and Michelle Fish from Biggby Coffee. We are talking about this thing that the Fishers call the black curtain of coffee. And I ran towards this concept because this is exactly what we've been talking about on the podcast for the whole time this podcast has existed. Actually, that's not true. From probably 2018 is when I started to realize, why are coffee producers committing suicide? Wait, what? Why is this a thing? And then I started to look into it deeper. I found the C market. I started to talk about people. People started pulling me into rooms and saying, I'm going to tell you something you can never discuss on the podcast. You need to know what's going on in this country, in this country, in this country. And this speaks directly to your black curtain. I would say to them, if you know this is going on, come on the podcast and talk about it. And they would say, I can't, I'm going to lose my job. Or I can't because this will make somebody angry. Or nobody wants to hear this, Lee. And it would infuriate me. And it's a big reason why, together with my Syrian roots, it's why this podcast really exists. Because we talk about the things that nobody else will talk about. And it infuriates me that people like the folks at the SCA won't come out and have these conversations because it's going to hurt people's feelings, or it doesn't serve anybody's purposes to have open discussions about these things, or there may be a legal ramification for it. At the fucking end of the day, we know what's going on and we don't have solutions for it. But it's complicated. It's more complicated than that, Lee. Okay, how do we fix it? If we're not talking about it, if you guys aren't admitting that it's going on, and we're not going to admit that it's going on, how is it getting fixed? And you said something in the last episode that made my ears stand up, Michelle, when you said people don't understand the levels of corruption that are happening at origin.
Mhm.
Talk more about that, because in this episode, we're going to talk about why the black curtain exists. And it's a fallacy for people to think that it's only because of what's going on in the global north or in consuming countries. That's not true. Ask anybody that is at the moment in Colombia that's trying to sell coffee and ask them how much their toll went up that they have to pay the cartels.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. That's the thing about it that's so insidious is that kind of corruption doesn't just show up one way, right?
Mm.
So there's the toll that they have to pay the cartels, but then there's also go to get assistance from your National Coffee Association, and they're in bed with the chemical companies.
Mm.
So all they want you to do is use more herbicide and use more fertilizer, right? And they'll give you plenty of help to do that, and not any help to do anything else.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, that they'll even tell you not to grow your own food
Yep.
on your coffee farm because it'll compete with the nutrients, which is just ridiculous, right?
Oh, wow.
So now you have to be reliant on grocery store chains, which there aren't at origin. You have to give up more of your money, more of your soul, just to keep your family fed. And like I said, that corruption shows up in all kinds of different ways. I'm going to give you an example out of Honduras. We are working with a community of small producers there, about 30 or so. And they told us a story about one of the big families in coffee in Honduras, who had sometimes bought their cherry. And he came in on a helicopter, right, for a photo shoot. No one was allowed to come anywhere near him. No one was allowed to shake his hand or touch him. He didn't meet any of these producers. He flew in, got out. His security pushed all the people back, took a couple of pictures, and took off. And boy, does it look like he's really engaged with his communities. Yeah, that's how he's engaged. He's just there for the photo op, right? He's not there for the people. He was paying.
Sounds like a few
subpar
coffee
prices.
roasters that I know that do something similar to that, sans the helicopter and the bodyguard.
No, with the helicopter. We just heard a story
Really?
in Guatemala. Yes, an Australian rooster flew in with a helicopter, did a cupping at the farm, and flew back out.
For real?
You know how upside down that is? Yes. Like the rental on that. Yes, from Guatemala City to the Tenango, they flew a helicopter. That is crazy, right? That is so
It's
unself-aware.
embarrassing. That's what that is. That's like, even if you've got the money to do that, read the fucking room.
Yeah, no doubt about it, right? So how does that feel to a producer who can't get paid more than it actually costs for them to produce their coffee, that this guy's coming in a helicopter? You know, one thing that we do with our Farm Direct partners is we always bring them to our annual meeting because we want to illuminate the supply chain for the producer to understand the end user, and for the end user, we also bring people to origin to understand the producer, right? But like the amount of money that they look at, even just in our annual meeting, is just overwhelming. Like this last time, we had a gentleman from Honduras. He's the number 2 guy, and he's like, "Is all this, that's going on here, is that supported by coffee?" Like it's incredulous that could be the truth, when on the other side of the equation, people are absolutely being economically oppressed. You can't add that up in your brain, right? That there would be other human beings in this world basically dancing on your level of poverty.
The tension point here, and I can hear cafe owners and roasters that are out there that are listening to this and saying, I'm not fucking dancing on anything other than my own poverty because my business isn't making any money. And I don't know where these people are getting these ideas that we're dancing on somebody's poverty, but first of all, I didn't know that that happens because I use an importer and they give me these little cards that tell me this is responsibly sourced. And on top of that, I'm not even paying myself a salary.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. So let's
Yeah.
speak directly to that.
Yeah. No, you're right. But hey, listen, it's the same roasters that will publish what they're paying for coffee, but it's the FOB price.
Yeah,
I remember we were with some people, we were in Origin, and they said, well, wait a minute, there's this roaster, and he does publish, because we always talk about publishing the gate price. And he said, they publish it, and this is how much they pay. And I said, okay, we'll text them and find out what the gate price is. They don't even know what the gate price is.
We should explain to
They don't
people the
even know.
difference. So the difference, folks, is when we say the gate price, we're talking about essentially, loosely the definition, we're paying, people are paying the farmer at the farm gate is what they mean. FOB is the price on the boat.
Yeah.
So to get so all of the hands it's got to get through, it's got to go from, depending on what origin, is a different kind of supply chain. There's some origins have curetes, some it's a washing station, some blah, 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 transport, etc. So there's a big distance between what the farm gate price is and what the FOB price is. And so when you're asking somebody, how much did you pay for this coffee, and they give you a number, I'd really love for you guys to start differentiating between that and say to them, was this farm gate or was this free on board? And how did you validate that number?
Correct. And we like to express it in terms of percentage of FOB. So what percent of FOB is the producer getting, right?
So last time I talked about that farmer in Ethiopia on our last episode, what he's getting of FOB is probably less than 5%.
Are you fucking kidding?
Oh, he got paid $380
For the whole year.
For the whole year. So there'll be what the FOB price was on that, which will look good. And I think most people just assume that the farmer must get a good bit of that. That particular farmer is getting under 5% of FOB.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ethiopian coffee goes for a pretty penny on the market.
And I wanted to also explain what folks who may not understand, the US dollar means something different in Ethiopia than it means when it in its connection to coffee than it does in most other origins. So there's this thing that happens in Ethiopia, and correct me if I get anything wrong here, guys. But when you do trade in different things, you're allowed to keep a specific percentage of it as US dollar in your account. So if you trade in, let's say, electronics or in coffee, they have different allocations to them. And usually when you trade in things in Ethiopia and you receive US dollars in them, you are forced to convert it to birr, which is the local currency there. When you trade in coffee, you can keep a higher percentage of it in US dollars, which means that you can use those US dollars to trade in other things. So this is why over the years people have been talking about USD into Ethiopia and why coffee is a really great way to do that. And that's not common knowledge in our industry.
Yeah.
So
When we were there, the government had actually just switched it. It used to be that they allowed you to keep 70% in hard currency, and 30% they would convert at their exchange rate, which, by the way, you could never buy a dollar at their exchange rate. But
shocking.
But because of the Civil War and their need to, they needed to buy more,
For weapons,
guns, weapons. They had inverted that equation. So when we were there, it was 70% in local currency, 30% in hard currency. And most people in the coffee business in Ethiopia, I can't say most of the ones that we met while we were there are there for the currency play. They're not there for the coffee.
Yeah.
They're there because they have a car dealership and they need to be able to buy Ford, and import it into the country, and they need hard currency for that. So
I'll tell you a similar story that's not at an origin country, but equally as much fuckery included in coffee. I'm not going to name the country. But in this particular country, if you would like to borrow money to build a building, you can't get the money. It's considered not okay by their local customs. However, if you start a coffee business, they will loan you 120% of the money that you require to start that business.
Yep.
So property developers are now opening 400, 500, 600 cafes at a time, using the money to build the buildings and paying. They don't give a fuck what they've got to pay for coffee. Buy the cheapest, shittiest coffee. We don't care if we sell a cup or not. Because we'll take less than 1% of the profit that we get off these buildings and pay back everything that we need to on these loans in a heartbeat. Yeah. We don't operate in an industry that's making a lot of sense at the moment.
No. I mean, in 2018, we discovered people were beginning to walk off their farms. That's not like it just happened in 2018. That's been going. With the addition of climate change and the pressures of climate change and the need to change agronomy on that, which people don't have access to the proper information on that because their local national associations who are being funded by the fertilizer companies and the chemical companies offering or not just fertilizer, but
herbicide.
Yeah. They are. It actually makes climate change worse, right? It actually makes it worse, right? And we're on such a downward spiral there. The producers have no access to the information in terms of how to combat that, which, by the way, is not fertilizers and is not herbicides and is not pesticides. Those things actually destroy the ecosystem the coffee grows in. It grows very naturally in a semi-forested area. But if you don't preserve that soil, if you don't keep the bugs, if you don't keep the birds, if you let the water dry up, you just accelerate climate change dramatically.
It's a negative feedback loop. And this is why, if you're listening to this and you don't understand this, it's the reason we did the Regenerative Ag Workshop, is because we want people on the consuming end of the supply chain, the roasters, the baristas, the business owners. We need you to how fucking hard it's going to get to grow coffee moving forward. It is essential that you go and spend the $20 to do this workshop. If you can't afford it, contact us. You will have access to it for free. But if you can afford to do it, please do it. Spend the $10 because for the $20, that buys one ticket for you and a ticket for a producer that can't afford to attend it. And it is essential that you understand the role that regenerative ag is going to play into the future, because these associations, they are in bed with the fertilizer companies, in my opinion, just for legal reasons.
My opinion as
well. My opinion.
Everything that we're stating in both, like the 2 episodes that came before this and the ones coming ahead of us, is in our opinion and in our experience. So when we know that this level of fuckery is going on, in our opinion, how do we reverse it? If the people who are keeping these people ignorant and suppressing the information from them, they're never going to give them access. It's why we brought the professors on board to share this information, and we will continue to do it and expand it into other languages so that nobody says that they don't have access.
Correct. In this day and age, to have access to that kind of information is just a lot. It's just a lot easier. But on that note too, it's been really easy to sort of keep secrets in developing countries from the consuming country. It's been really easy. Just distance alone will do it. Just setting a tone of going to one of these countries is the most dangerous thing you could possibly do, which it isn't. I can give examples in our own country. that are much more
Bro, I
dangerous.
lived there. It scared the shit out of me every day I was there.
So, but in today's day and age, and this is something that Michelle and I believe in strongly, is we got to skip by the roasters and the industry, and we have to go straight to the consumer. That is where the education needs to lie, because the consumer just doesn't. The consumer's trying to do the right thing. That's why people buy fair trade, which is bullocks, and that's why they buy the USDA label or Rainforest Alliance, or all these kinds of things, which are all bullocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those industries rely on their own funding. Fair Trade USA is trying to employ 200 people in San Francisco and keep those desks full, right? While making the farmer pay and making the retailer pay. So it's about their own revenue generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they lose all credibility on that. I mean, I was just, we were just in Europe, and I was going by an Nespresso shop, and big on the window of this Nespresso shop is B Corp. And I'm like, there is no fucking way that you could be a B Corp. I know that. Okay. And I'm like,
that's amazing.
Who did what to whom to get that? For sure. Right. So all that label stuff.
This is you can fucking count on it that's going to be a clip for the series.
So, great. I'll get fired now. So, but you cannot rely on those. They are part of this system.
It's a game.
Everybody has to compromise in the end in order to survive, right? That's what they do. Everybody, whether it's willful or unwillful,
it's masturbatory, right?
Yeah,
They're all enabling each other's masturbatory behavior so that we don't. Once the music stops, then we all actually are aware of what we're doing, and we can't let that happen. So we have to keep perpetuating the lie.
Right.
And I have a feeling 2025
too.
The daddy syndrome.
The daddy syndrome is, well, that's nice, what you're doing. Or, that's going to be really hard to do. You know that, right? Or whatever, right?
Or that condescending
sorry,
tone.
we can't change the system, even though they are the system, and so on and so forth. There's all this language that's used that's a little pat on the head, right? It's a little pat on the head.
The other thing that's really important to know, because it's going to sound like we're like altruistic do-gooders. Mm-hmm. We're not. We're capitalists. Yeah. We're hardcore capitalists. We just believe that in order for our franchisees to thrive and be successful, everybody in the value chain also has to thrive and be successful, all the way to the coffee producer. And if we can create a value chain for coffee in which everybody is thriving, that thing is just a train. It'll just keep on rolling, because what's good for the producer will be good for the franchisee and vice versa. And as the better they know each other, the more interconnected we are as a chain, the better.
And the more legitimately sustainable it is. Like, this is why we keep saying values-driven businesses. That is the way of the future, because people are done with being fucked over. The game is up. People are aware that daddy ain't coming to save us. Like these big corporations that keep telling us, but you need us because the other guys aren't going to treat you any better than us. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
And it is all changing. And so it is really, really important for particularly the coffee producers that are listening to this, find the right partners. And I want to say the same thing to the baristas and the other employees that listen to this. Stop working for assholes. Mm-hmm. Don't work for them, and stop making stupid people famous, please.
Yeah.
The people who we should be talking about are people like these folks. Yeah. The people who are actually telling you what's going on, and I will say at risk to themselves. These folks are not going to make any friends amongst some of the powerful people in the industry once this series is out. Because you can be sure as shit that people are going to share this. Yeah. People want to be like what the Fishers are doing. So, look, in the next episode, we're going to talk about who benefits from this. I got a fucking lot to say about this because it's as disgusting gets. And we do hope that you share these series. We hope that you help the word get out because there's no other platform in coffee that is telling you about this shit. And I will just say one other thing. To the people who comment on our YouTube channel about the fact that I swear on this podcast, I have been waiting all year for the opportunity to say this, and so now it's presented itself.
Right on.
For those of you who say, I love the podcast, but I just wish you wouldn't swear. I know you think that you wish that I wouldn't swear, but actually you don't. You have been taught to wish that I don't swear, but subconsciously you trust this podcast because we won't lie to you. And your subconscious is picking up the signal that we won't lie to you because I know you don't want me to swear. But I'm still going to be me whether you want me to swear or not. I promise you guys that if you have dinner with me, if I meet you in the street, or if you're on the podcast, you're getting the same me. And I promise you, you do not want the version of this that's going to be like, oh, I'm going to stop swearing. The moment you see that happening, you should stop listening to this podcast. Because that's when you know that I have either been threatened by a government, which I have been, but I still haven't given in. But if I start changing the way that I do things, I've been threatened by a government and have to comply, or I have been bought out by a company that is telling me how I should be running my business. I can never see a reality when those two things come to be true. But you do not want a version of this podcast where Lee is not swearing. And I hope that you guys can receive that with the love that it's intended, because I'm not pretending about any of this. And this is not a show. This is, guys, is this conversation we're having here any different to the conversation that we had in the preliminary when we met a few weeks ago?
Nope. It's the same. And, you got to bring the one you. If you got to be one person to one group and another person to another group, you're already lying.
I don't have any energy.
You're already
for
lying.
That. 2024 has been hard enough.
Yeah. You got to bring the one you.
So join us in the next episode, folks, and we are going to talk about who benefits from the black curtain. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.